I still remember her hand on my thigh in the elevator, quiet, deliberate, promising things we never said aloud together. I'm 32 now, living in Chicago, and this story doesn't end the way it once felt like it might. I know that even before I get into it. I work remote now, product design for a mid-sized firm, the kind of job that keeps my days quiet and predictable. Most nights, it's just me, my laptop, and the low hum of traffic outside my apartment window. This happened 4 years ago. Back when my life still felt unfinished in a hopeful way. I was renting a smaller place then, closer to the loop, close enough that I walked most places. I still have one thing from that time. A blazer I never gave back. It hangs in my closet, pushed to the side, expensive fabric that doesn't belong to the rest of my life. I don't wear it. I just never moved it. People assume I'm settled. I wake up early, make coffee the same way every morning, answer emails, close my laptop by 6. On weekends I grocery shop on Sundays and do laundry late at night when the building is quiet. From the outside, nothing looks unfinished. That's usually how these things hide. She was older than me. Not by much, but enough that it mattered. She was the CEO of the company I contracted with then, sharp, composed, always busy. I didn't meet her in some dramatic way. It was an office building downtown, glass walls, neutral carpet, a conference room that smelled faintly like burnt coffee. I didn't think anything would come of it. I wasn't looking for anything to come of it. What I didn't expect was how quickly her presence followed me out of that building. How I started noticing the space she left behind. How certain moments stayed with me longer than they should have. Small things. Passing contact. A look held a second too long. I didn't know then how much of it would stay with me. I just knew, even early on, that whatever this was, it wasn't something I'd be able to forget easily. I first noticed her on a Tuesday morning, standing barefoot in her office doorway, holding a phone she hadn't answered yet. I was there as a contractor, temporary badge, borrowed desk. She was the CEO, though no one said it out loud around her. She wore simple clothes, usually neutral colors, nothing loud. That morning it was a white blouse with the sleeves rolled just past her wrists and dark jeans that looked more lived in than polished. She listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, it was measured, like she was choosing what to keep to herself. She was 40, maybe 41 then. Divorced, no kids. That came out later, over coffee downstairs when the line was long and neither of us wanted to rush back up. She ran the company with a steady kind of confidence. No theatrics. She answered emails late at night and left early some mornings. People respected her, but they also seemed careful around her, like they didn't want to take up too much of her time. What stood out wasn't power. It was the small things. She tapped her fingers when she was thinking. She always forgot where she put her glasses and then found them on top of her head. She ordered the same thing every time from the cafe across the street, black coffee, no lid. She laughed quietly, usually looking down when she did, like she didn't want to draw attention to it. She wasn't warm in an obvious way. But she noticed details. She remembered what I was working on. She asked follow-up questions days later. When we talked, she didn't check her phone. That felt rare. There were flaws too. She avoided personal questions unless she felt cornered. She worked too much. She didn't talk about the future in anything but practical terms. Sometimes she seemed tired in a way sleep wouldn't fix. I didn't think of it as attraction at first. It was more like curiosity. A pull I didn't name. I just knew I paid attention when she entered a room, and I stayed a little longer when she asked how my day was going. It didn't happen all at once. It never does. At first, it was just timing. Running into each other near the elevators. Sharing a few minutes before meetings. By the second week, we were getting coffee together without calling it that. Standing in line downstairs, talking about work like it was the only safe subject. She always paid, even when I reached for my wallet. I let her. It felt easier than turning it into something. 2 weeks later, she started texting me first. Short messages. Practical ones. A question about a file. A reminder about a deadline. Then, slowly, comments that didn't need answers right away. By October, we had a rhythm. Coffee in the mornings when our schedules lined up. Drinks once a week at a bar 2 blocks from the office. We sat at the end of the bar, close enough that our elbows touched. Neither of us moved away. After a month of this, the conversations changed. Less about work. More about how tired she was. How lonely it felt to run a company where everyone needed something from you. I talked about money stress, about not knowing where I'd be in a year. We didn't give advice. We just listened. That mattered. The first time we spent time alone outside of that routine was late. Too late to pretend it was casual. I went to her apartment to help with a presentation she wanted another set of eyes on. We sat on the couch, laptops open, knees almost touching. At some point, the work stopped. I don't remember who closed the laptop. I remember the quiet after. Our bodies were already close. Familiar in a way that surprised me. Her shoulder pressed into mine. Her hand resting on my forearm, not moving. When she finally looked at me, it felt like crossing something invisible. The kiss was slow. Careful. Like neither of us wanted to be the one who pushed too far. It didn't stay that way for long. We didn't rush. That was the strange part. We took our time, learning the weight of each other, the sound of breath in a quiet room. The warmth stayed even after we stopped moving. We lay there without talking. Her hand traced small circles on my chest, absent-minded, like she wasn't ready to let go yet. After that, things shifted. We didn't name it, but it was there. Shared couches. Nights that ended with us asleep beside each other, fully dressed sometimes, tangled other times. Touch stopped feeling accidental. It felt expected. Familiar. Dangerous in how easy it became. By winter, I knew this mattered. I saw it in the way she lingered before leaving. In the way she held my hand longer than necessary. In how silence between us started to feel loaded. We were giving each other something real. And neither of us said what it was. The first sign was how carefully we avoided certain conversations. By January, we were spending most nights together. If not sleeping, then sitting on her couch, legs crossed toward each other, sharing the quiet. But any time the future came close, it stalled. She talked about the company's next quarter, never the next year. I talked about contracts, never permanence. We stayed in the present like it was safer there. After intimacy, she changed. Not cold. Just, contained. She'd pull away first, reach for her phone, scroll without reading anything. I told myself it was habit. That she lived in constant motion and stillness made her uneasy. I accepted it because I wanted to. She started canceling plans more often. Always with a reason that made sense. A board call ran late. A dinner she couldn't reschedule. When we did meet, she was distracted. Still affectionate, but less open. She touched me like she was reminding herself of something, not like she was settling in. There was one night that stayed with me. We were in bed, lights off, city noise leaking in through the windows. She was close, familiar, her hand resting on my chest like it belonged there. I asked, casually, what she wanted this to be. She didn't answer right away. When she did, it was vague. She said she cared. She said timing was complicated. She kissed me like that was supposed to be enough. I noticed how often she mentioned moving offices. How she talked about opportunities in other cities without looking at me. I noticed how she never left anything at my place. No toothbrush. No spare clothes. Everything stayed contained to her life, her space. I knew something was wrong. I felt it in the pauses. In the way she'd hesitate before reaching for my hand in public. In how intimacy started to feel heavier, like it carried a question neither of us wanted to ask. I told myself not to push. That pressure would break it. That patience would fix it. I convinced myself silence was safer than clarity. The night she fell asleep beside me without touching me at all, facing the other direction, I stared at the ceiling and understood what I was refusing to admit. The decision didn't feel dramatic when I made it. It felt practical. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was sitting at my desk when an email came through, an offer from a firm in Austin. Full-time. Better pay. Stability. The kind of thing I'd been telling myself I needed since before I met her. I read it twice, then closed my laptop and stared at the wall longer than necessary. That night, I went to her place. She was already tired when I arrived, blazer draped over a chair, heels kicked off near the door. We sat on the couch like we always did. Close, familiar. Her leg against mine. Her hand resting on my knee, thumb moving without thinking. It would have been easy to stay quiet. To let the night go the way it usually did. Instead, I told her about the job. She listened without interrupting. Asked questions that showed she'd already thought through the logistics before I finished explaining. Austin made sense, she said. It was a good move. Her voice was steady. Supportive. Professional in a way that hurt more than resistance would have. I waited for something else. For her to say we'd figure it out. For her to ask me to stay. She didn't. The silence stretched. Her hand was still on my leg, but it felt different now. Like it was holding on out of habit. I realized then that if I didn't choose, I would just keep waiting. Waiting for clarity she wasn't going to offer. So I said I should take it. That I didn't want to keep doing this halfway. That I needed something certain. She nodded. Slowly. She said she understood. She leaned in and kissed me once, soft and brief, like a goodbye she wasn't ready to name. When we pulled apart, she didn't reach for me again. I left a little later than I should have. Walked to my car alone. Accepted the offer before I changed my mind. I didn't know yet what it would cost. I only knew I had made the choice that seemed safest at the time. 3 weeks went by after I moved, and nothing happened. No messages. No late-night calls I half expected and half feared. I told myself that was a mercy. I unpacked boxes slowly, left some unopened longer than necessary. I learned new grocery aisles. New routes. I kept my phone face down on the table, like that made me less obvious. After a month, I sent a short text. Something neutral. I said I hoped the quarter had gone well. I reread it twice before hitting send. The bubble turned blue. It stayed that way. No reply. Work filled the days. That part was easy. Nights were quieter. I caught myself opening my phone at the same times we used to talk. I'd type a sentence, delete it, then another. I stopped midway, thumb hovering, then locked the screen. I did that more times than I can count. 2 months later, a package arrived. No note. Just my things. A sweater I'd left at her place. A book I'd lent her, my name still written on the inside cover. Folded carefully. Returned like an obligation, not a message. I put everything back in the box and slid it under the bed. 6 months after I left, I heard about her from a mutual contact. It came up casually, like trivia. She'd relocated the company. San Francisco. New office. New board members. I asked how she was, pretending it was just curiosity. They said she seemed focused. Busy. Good. That night, I checked her profile for the first time in a while. I didn't scroll. I didn't need to. The first photo was enough. Not intimate. Just clear. Her standing next to someone I didn't know, his hand resting easily at her back. The kind of touch that didn't hesitate. I didn't feel anything all at once. No sharp break. Just a slow settling. Like something heavy finally landing after being held too long. After that, the regret came in pieces. In elevators. In quiet bars. In the way I'd start to tell a story and realize there was no one who knew the version of me from before. I understood then that I hadn't just left a city. I'd stepped out of a life that would keep going without me. I never heard from her again. Not directly. And somehow, that final silence said more than any conversation could have. I'm 36 now, living in Austin. It's been almost 4 years since I left Chicago. My life looks fine from the outside. Same job, higher title now. A better apartment. Morning runs when the weather isn't brutal. I know where everything is in my kitchen. I don't lose sleep over money anymore. People here know me as reliable. Steady. Someone who stayed. There's one thing I still have. A coffee mug from her place. Plain white, chipped at the rim. I grabbed it without thinking the last morning I was there. It sits in the back of my cabinet. I don't use it. I just haven't thrown it away. Time passed quietly after I left. Weeks without hearing her name. Months where I convinced myself that meant something good. Then a year went by. I heard through someone else that she'd moved the company west. San Francisco. Bigger offices. Bigger reach. It fit her. Of course it did. I don't look her up anymore. I stopped after I saw a photo once. Not even a clear one. Just her shoulder, someone else's hand at her waist. That was enough. I closed the app and didn't reopen it for a while. Some habits stayed. I still drink my coffee black, even though I don't enjoy it. I still pause in elevators when someone stands too close. I still notice quiet confidence in women and feel something tighten before I look away. Nothing dramatic followed. No grand regret. Just small moments. Standing in grocery store lines. Sitting alone in bars I don't really like. Reaching for my phone, then setting it back down. Knowing exactly who I'd want to tell something to, and not doing it. This became normal. The absence smoothed out its edges. It learned how to live beside me. Sometimes, late at night, I hold that chipped mug in my hands and think about how easily things slipped past the moment they could still be changed.